Agenda. Actually, we'll first start with public comment. Okay, are we all set? All good. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Tonight, we're going to go over the agenda for the October 7th board meeting. First, Ms. Emmett, do you want to let us know if there are any public comments via the email address?
As of right now, there are no comments that came through on the email address.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll get right into the agenda, and if anybody has anything to speak of publicly, we'll do that after the agenda, and then we'll break, hopefully for a brief executive thereafter. Okay. Scrolling down after the roll call, we have approval of minutes. We have the treasurer's report. And we have the approval of bills and accounting of taxes. Number 9 is a recognition of public. And number 10 is our enrollment, which we are currently at 1838. So a few up from where we were at the beginning of the year. Number 11 is the organizational chart. We've been working on this. We had to tweak a few positions just because of the shifting with Katie Szymanski's position and just readjusting that, making sure it's formatted properly. So we're going to get that out. Cindy has it. She'll send it out. Okay. So you can take a look at that. And that is for number 11, the approval for this year. We have to have it approved every year and have it on file for auditing purposes. So. Number 13 is an amended resolution. So this is the employee quarantine resolution that we approved last month or prior to school starting, which basically stated that if an employee travels to a zone that's on the list for the Department of Health as a do not attend zone, that we would require them to quarantine for 14 days unpaid. In conversations with both our association and other districts, we believe it's realistic to have some flexibility for myself or the district, depending on circumstances in an emergency or some extenuating circumstance, to approve the use of the employee's sick time or personal time or whatever is appropriate in accordance with the Families First Act. So we still have the clause in there. The only thing it does is if there is some sort of situation that we deem appropriate, that the employee needs to go to that location, that we can approve the time, the use of their own time. So that we just added a clause after that one item.
So I have a question. So what happens when the employee stays in our area and some out area comes in and he's infected? What happens with pay that we quarantine?
I'm sorry, so can you repeat that?
Let's just say the person leaves the area and he gets COVID.
Okay.
So what happens with his pay schedule then?
There's the Families First Act kicks in. So they get 10 COVID days paid. And then after that, they would either have to use personal sick time, personal time, or they would apply for FMLA under the Families First Act. Okay, so that's number 12. Moving on to number 13, we have 2 new drivers, one for contractor Herbie Black and one for contractor Scotty Swingle. Number 14, we have a transportation contract extension. This is for an early intervention student. It's van 51 from Waymar to the middle school, high school campus and Evergreen. Number 15, these are annual updates to the listed policies. If you take a look, Cindy, are there any policies that you want to mention that might stand out, any significant changes? I know most of them basically pertaining to the health and safety plan, to add language in there for those, but otherwise, these are required annual updates that we have to have.
There's minor changes, so what I will do is email them out to each of you. It will be in bold what the recommended change would be. So if you want to take a look at them, and some of them are not changing at all. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Okay, next page, we have a snow removal agreement. These are extensions from the prior few school years. We have Pioneer Construction for RDW, and then we have Myoko Excavating for the Evergreen Middle and High School campuses. We've been far under the bid threshold with those companies. We're very satisfied with their services, so we're going to continue on with those groups. Number 17, this is an extension. It's an amended agreement to our current cyber program contract. So we've been utilizing a program called Exact Path at the middle school. And what that does, it levels the learning pathways for the individuals 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in both reading and mathematics. So they utilize it in their academic labs or their flex time, so that we can provide enrichment and remediation for students throughout the entire year. So this is the cost for this year and next year for that program. It's highly beneficial. We could utilize it for special education as well as gifted needs. And that's for every student in the middle school. Number 18 is an agreement. This one, Rick and Bill, you may not have this on your agenda. This was added this afternoon. We received this contract as a result of one of our settlements, one of the lawsuits. This is part of the language that we were to provide or cover the cost of the therapeutic support service for this student for speech and language evaluations and services.
Sue Romansky did send.
She did get that out to you? Okay.
She did. Mhm.
Thank you, Bill.
Right. You're welcome.
Number 19, we're hoping to have a few more subs on the list, but currently we're just waiting to see if we get any more finalized. That's 19A. 19B is appointments for advisors and chairpersons. Now, these were as the result of recent retirements and FMLAs, et cetera. So it opened the door for a co-advisor for the literary magazine, and that's listed there. And then our English department chairperson, which previously was split by 2 people, is now just going to be the one, again, as a result of some of that shifting. Letter C, we do have some appointments for football. We have assistant coaches, and if you look, there are 3 positions. However, it's actually 2 positions that are split 3 ways. And basically, the reason that the cost is different on the one is because of the years of service. So that's how those numbers work out. So it's 2 positions split among 3 coaches. Letter D, we're looking to appoint a 12-month secretary to replace the position at the high school in the athletic department / buildings and grounds. And that we'll talk a little bit about that in executive. And then we also have the transportation administrative assistant that we did some interviews as well for this week. We do have a recommendation for that position at this point, and we'll go over that after this. Letter E is an approval for volunteers. We have 2 volunteers on the list, which is nice. And then we have number 20, our informational items. As you can see, we had the PTA donate generously $500 to the Makerspace Robotics Laboratory. So we'll acknowledge that group publicly next Wednesday. And then we have a list of events coming up. I'm not sure if we put on here. Yes, we did. We did finalize the open house dates. They will be virtual. We have the elementaries on the 15th, and then the 22nd is the high school, middle school. And that's the agenda.
This band night
Yes,
tomorrow night,
tomorrow night. So
we can open that up, I mean, to just parents, or can you?
so what we're doing is, as a result, initially, before all of the changes came about with the districts being allowed to determine how many fans were in a given space, we said initially that it would be football, the football team, the cheerleading team, and a pep band. A small band, so we could keep the threshold under 250 with still allowing some parents in. And as a result, we decided that it'd be a nice idea to give their band their own senior night, because it's tomorrow, Friday night is the football and cheerleading senior night. So we said, in fairness to the band, they've been working all summer, to give them an opportunity to have their own night. And then also, hopefully find a time that they could play at a boys and a girls soccer game. So there's also, they're also looking to do like a small community event as well. I believe, I have to check what date that might be, but that's where that came about. So we kept it on there for tomorrow, even though now with the new numbers, we're able to have the whole band on the opposite side in the new bleachers. And then we're allowing just one parent for them tomorrow night, because they're getting their own night on Thursday. So if you would like to attend, yes, just let us know. We can get you a ticket for sure.
And they're gonna play like their march, their halftime show?
Yes, and they'll probably throw some other stuff in there, so it's a little bit more festive. Anybody have anything for the public at this point? Rose, are there any comments?
No, I do have one thing for that PSBA.
Oh, yes, Rose, go ahead.
Email still empty, so.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll get on that end.
Do it, yeah.
Okay. I just have one thing to go over that came in from PSBA. Each year around this time of year, we have the opportunity to vote for the PSBA officers that are coming, the positions that are open. What I just handed out to everyone was a copy of the candidates for this this fall. So I know the last probably 2 or 3 years, we did not place any votes, not knowing any of the candidates. But each year I want to make sure that I give everyone the opportunity to decide what you would like to do this coming year. Do you want to have any of the elections put onto our agenda for Monday night? You want to take a minute and just look through that and let me know. We can put something on, or we can just say that we're not interested in voting this year. It is an opportunity to do it, but not a requirement.
Rose, I can make a comment that last week, the intermediate unit had its board meeting. And the intermediate unit, for, I don't know why, but for some reason they suggested voting for Daniel O'Keefe. He's on the second page. Vice President, 1-year term. So just for the record, the IU voted to support Daniel O'Keefe. And I don't know, why the particular board member suggested it. So,
And just, they only voted for the one
yeah,
position?
yes, I believe that's, yes. Again, why, I don't know. There was very little discussion. It was just, somebody mentioned him, and so he was put on the IU, he was voted for by the IU board.
Any of them reach out to us?
I didn't hear from anyone. There is one person on, for section 4 on, under sectional advisors, and he's from Lackawanna Trail, but I have no knowledge of him.
What did we do last year? You remember?
We did not vote last year. I don't think the last several years, I think
And that's what I
nobody
thought.
was on there that we knew.
That's what I thought.
I believe the last time we voted was when there was a gentleman from the Walton Paupack School District that several of the board members did know personally, and they did vote for his position. I don't believe we voted since then. What are your thoughts?
I don't feel comfortable having anyone that I really don't know or anybody else. That's my opinion.
I don't know any of them, so. I need to vote.
Okay. All right, we will not put anything onto the agenda for this. I'll just notify PSBA. No vote. Thank you.
Before we go into executive, is there anyone else that had anything they wanted to bring up? So,
You know what, I do have one more thing.
okay, go ahead.
I did bring another paper. Sorry, I do have one more item, and it's just an information item. The actual index came out for the 21-22 school year, and it came out at 3%. So the positive percentage increase for our millage for the 21-22 school year will be 3%. I didn't do any calculations that this came to us today. This is calculated by $100, but it is higher than this current year. We were 2.5, I believe, but we actually went below that. But just so that you know that we'll be at 3% possibility for millage for next year.
We expected that to be lower, right, Rose?
We
thought-
did, yeah. During the height of the COVID closures, they had estimated that this would be quite a bit lower going in, but actually it did come in higher. Okay.
So again, so I guess the one thing we would like to discuss, and I guess this would be public, would be the concern with teacher time and planning preparation and providing some asynchronous opportunities for students to learn. Right, that should be public, right? Okay, so Cindy and I have been communicating with the association pretty much on a daily basis. Just trying to iron out details, work out kinks, handle problems as they present themselves. And it's been working, I think, extremely well. We've been working together very collaboratively, trying to address things together, which has been very productive. So thankfully, it's really assisted with the start of the school year, how well things have been going so far, and trying to do whatever we can to keep this thing up and running. So through those conversations, as well as in conversations with the other two Ws, we're seeing similar truths that the teachers are becoming overwhelmed with the new format. Not because they necessarily aren't able to navigate it. It's the amount of planning time going in so that they can accommodate for both the students at home, getting the work uploaded, and then also managing the current classroom that they have in front of them. So they're getting to a point where some teachers, they're going above and beyond, trying to do every bell and whistle that they can in order to engage the students. And they're basically just treading water at this point, and they feel they're overwhelmed. At the same time, there's still some staff members that we believe that we could use some time to really get up to par and get them where they need to be on a day-to-day basis. So what they asked was if we would be willing to consider adding some time in, at least within the next month, to provide them some wouldn't be in service time. What we would do is have an early dismissal. The consideration is to have a couple early dismissals that the students would be doing asynchronous work. So that time will count as instruction time towards our hours that are required from the state. So what we would need to do is pass a motion to state that we're going to alter the calendar and then submit that new schedule, which doesn't have to be every week, but at least it's an alternate schedule that we can utilize because we're adjusting that resolution that we passed early in the year. Remember, we said we can fluctuate between hybrid, virtual, or in school, or some sort of blend. And we submitted a schedule back then. So the requirements from the state would be we submit the new schedule and the minutes from the meeting that we approved it. So I know it's a lot of information, but what we are considering is we already have an in-service day coming up on the 12th. So that's, a week and a half away. So we figure we utilize that time to provide some professional development and planning time for the teachers. We have on the 11th of November, another in-service day that we implemented earlier in the year. So those 2 days are already set in stone from the calendar. What we're considering is, now that we went back and forth today in our administrative meeting because pre-K and early intervention raised some concerns. If we were to do, let's say, a Wednesday afternoon, dismiss the students early, or even bring the students in later, the pre-K kids would lose an entire day of the instruction as we're currently recording it. So we said, well, that really wouldn't work. It's not fair to those kids. And they also, we need to maintain hours for them as well. So we thought, since they're already virtual on Fridays and those teachers are already doing some asynchronous work in the afternoon, if we could have the entire staff then on Friday have a noon dismissal and immediately after start the professional development, at least for week, what did we say? Let me see the dates were the October, the 23rd and the 30th is what we're looking at, providing 2 early dismissals. It would give the teachers 4 days in 5 weeks of additional planning time in the afternoon to help get them up to where we need to be. The end of the marking period is, I believe, the week after, or that, right, that, is it the first week of November? It's right, the first week or 2 of November. So that'll get us right to that point and also allow us to, look at it, see how things are going. And if we need to either, maybe get back to the regular schedule after that, or if we need to be more consistent in providing that time that, we could reconsider at that point. So I don't know if that all made sense or if you're able to follow it.
Out of the next 5 weeks, you're gonna get 4 half days.
Yes. So 2 were already scheduled for in-service days, the 12th of this month and the 11th of November. We're looking to add 2 in between on Friday, the 23rd and Friday, the 30th. That would be a noon dismissal for kids.
What exactly are they asking for as far as time to prepare?
Preparation, getting materials up into the Google Classroom, grading, especially at the elementary level. We have a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of, but several teachers that are new to the virtual academy grading, so the full cyber program. So they're looking for time to do that because they're a little overwhelmed with that.
That time would be done in school though? Like
You can
that?
utilize that time for that as well.
Question. Can you do like during a school day, do like a quick session, do their homework in class and they can jump on the computer and catch up that way? I mean, I don't know if it's possible as well. That's a good idea, or slow down on the homeworks or on assignments just for a week or 2 for them to catch up. I mean,
Their schedules really are jam-packed. I mean,
Yeah.
for them to manage kids in front of them and have kids virtually at home, And then to, give them something to do while they can do that, it's really difficult to do. They're trying to manage a couple.
That's really the most difficult part of this whole thing, right? I'm trying to understand is the kids here, the kids there, and trying to get everything straight.
And too, I mean, this is the first marking period. The teachers are expected to now grade all of the work and do it that way as well. So you have to assess kids that are at home, which is very different than the kids sitting right in front of you. So as an admin team, when we talked about this, we're trying to take all of those variables into consideration in preparation for the end of the first marking period.
So do we have numbers for how many kids are Google Live?
I do. I don't have them right in front of me, but I can get them for you.
Because I would like to see if we can reevaluate. I know that we've talked about this before, is just to get rid of Google Live. I mean, I think the kids are hopping in on chat rooms with other kids who are at home. That's a distraction. The teachers are really doing well weeks ago. And I just think it's overwhelming and too much. And to think that they can do this all the way to June, it's too much. I think, there is a way they can, why can't they record their class and upload it at night somehow? I just think there's got to be a more consistent thing for them because I think it's just too much. I think it would have worked if it was just short term, fabulous. But to expect it all year, I think it's too much.
Well, it may not be all year. I mean,
I understand, and we may all go virtual, but let's get some hope at the end of the rainbow here.
and that's the point of allowing some more time
I
currently.
just don't think it's enough.
Hey, well, listen, we need to have the kids in the classrooms
And
and
that's the
working,
option,
and
though, but
you know,
kids
it's
aren't
like,
learning. They're getting a watered down education in the evergreen because they gotta watch kids at home because the parents aren't sitting with them.
It's not just evergreen though.
no,
all
it's,
the way through.
It's evergreen, it's middle school, it's high school. The comments that I have documents sent from 6 evergreen teachers, not just with IT issues, with random issues that are going on. High school and middle school teachers crying at the end of the day because they're ready to quit because they can't handle it anymore.
again,
It's far too much.
this is why we're asking for some more time.
Right, but I don't think it's just the time that we need to evaluate the whole thing, like, I've heard that there were IT issues, they called down to the front desk, and the front desk said, oh, the IT guy's running around, so now you want them to teach the kids, deal with the internet issues, and then go fly down an IT person? Come on, I mean.
Well, the alternative is, quite honestly and bluntly, if we don't offer this format for the online piece of it, we lose those kids to cyber school.
Well, why can't we?
And then we lose
evaluate it
jobs.
So that there's one teacher that's doing virtual per class, like per grade. Like, there has to be some other, we can't have a teacher teaching 23 kids, 3 kids that are online that are fooling around and creating confusion. And so those 23 kids that are sitting in our classroom are getting nothing while 3 kids are just fooling around online. That's not fair to.
And those are isolated incidents. That is not widespread rampant occurrences.
I think it happens in more than.
It does happen, but we did know going into this that there were going to be hiccups. We knew that this was not going to be perfect. We knew that it also needed to be done because if we were going to maintain as many students as we can, and we have. I mean, it's remarkable how many kids that we prevented from going elsewhere. I mean, Evergreen alone, there are 55 students.
At the 45-day mark though, and if we get that far, Matt, can we not say, look, it's either in school or cyber?
I think it depends on the situation surrounding us and the numbers that we're dealing with in terms of infection rates, et cetera. Recommendations from the Department of Health, the CDC, all of that stuff ties into this. And I think right now, if we're going to just rip the rug out from underneath everybody, it's not a good idea.
But that's November, even if we make it that far. I mean, I think it's a goal to have down the road.
Ultimately, yes. Ultimately, yes. I would like.
That's what they need to see, the teachers, is that there may be hope.
We want kids back in, every kid back in.
Absolutely.
Every student we want back
And I
in.
think more jumping ship from the high school because of the incident, but I think more at the younger levels are jumping back in because they can't do it.
Exactly. Well, listen,
So-
and from a personal perspective, my wife's at home pulling her hair out because our own daughters are struggling with it, and they're fully virtual.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to balance everything. It's everybody. It's not here. It's not just here. I mean, again, talking with the surrounding districts, there are issues popping up that are very similar to what we're experiencing
But
here.
out of all that talk, I think the thing that would ease so much, it's not giving a day here, giving a day there, it's getting rid of the Google Live. I'm not saying to totally get rid of it. Upload the homeworks. If a teacher has to, they're teaching it once and then they're doing it again. You know, let's video them and then upload that thing. It'll be great for everyone. Whoever wasn't paying attention in class, they get it reviewed.
And I'm not opposed to that, to eventually looking at whether, I don't know, maybe it's another program down the road next year, but to transition at this point is not advisable.
Even
We're
at the
too-
45 day.
Even at the 45-day.
Can I say this?
Because the planning and preparation that we need to go into it, if we had to go to another program,
No,
or
it's
if-
still
if-
keep Google Live. So if we go virtual, it's still Google Live. Do you see what I'm saying?
Still,
I'm
but
just
if-
saying
but if
to
we-
eliminate that piece from the teachers.
but what we're afraid of is if we say to all families, you're absolutely mandated to come in, I think we're going to lose a lot of families.
I would like a survey on that, because I don't think we would.
We are putting out a survey.
The next survey's coming out.
From the people that are already Google Live, you know what I'm saying? Who are already,
Cindy is working on a survey to go out in the next couple of weeks
Yeah, I think
before
that's smart.
before the end of the marking period to reassess where we're at.
right. as
So
long as
that's all
there's
in
some
in
hope
motion.
that this, you know, end goal here, because to handle this all the way to June, it's just not feasible.
Let me say this too, and I don't know, I understand that concerns or frustrations are shared with you. So
Cindy, do you
I
mind?
don't- Sorry.
Thanks.
That better, Bill?
Much better.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So I understand that concerns or frustrations are shared with you. And here's what I would strongly encourage you to say back to those individuals. The administrative team had this conversation with teachers. There was a procedure in place if a child was demonstrating inappropriate or disruptive behaviors during a Google Meet. So my question back to those individuals would be, did you follow that procedure? Did you notify guidance? Did you talk to the administrator? Is the administrator even aware that this is a concern or a situation or a frustration? Because right now it's not fair to the administrative team that they may be hearing this for the first time.
I have to say, as a parent, my kids come home and say, well, so-and-so's chatting with so-and-so the whole day. And that's frustrating.
Okay, but then
You know?
what
That's
we,
not as a teacher, that's a parent.
but then what we have communicated to the teachers and what I'm saying to the parents as well is then we need to follow up with that. That needs to be communicated within that building so it could be addressed. It's not appropriate for kids to be online demonstrating inappropriate behavior. But if we don't have the opportunity to address that and correct that, it's going to continue. So all I'm asking is to have those conversations with those individuals that you've talked to. I don't know that this has been brought to the attention of the building admin. I can't speak to that because I wasn't aware of it.
Can't hear you, Matt.
And those conversations have been productive and we're working out some of those details as we move forward. But again, you know, it's not going to be perfect right out of the gate. This is an evolution. It's a new way of lifestyle for
For
everybody.
everyone. And the teachers are willing to do it. They absolutely
Absolutely.
are.
And they've done a
they're spending
phenomenal
3
job.
hours after each day doing it.
Yes.
It's just how can we alleviate some of that pressure?
Well,
Because it's.
That's the point of
And
starting.
this is a start, but I don't think that's the end.
It's a
all.
starting point and we have to
And
reevaluate that.
I think the numbers need to be seen, the survey needs to be shown, and I just think they need some hope at the end of the rainbow, because right now,
Can we start,
looks.
would you be agreeable to starting with adding those couple days of
I
some-
am absolutely.
some planning time?
Every week should have at least one half day for each.
If we get, and that can be a conversation, but we want to see how we can structure it first within these next several weeks.
I just have one question, to clear things up for me. What's the difference between a Wednesday and a Friday?
Because our pre-K kids used to be half day every day. Okay, so you'd have an AM session, PM session. And then when this all came about and looking at the scheduling and the cleaning procedures and all of that stuff that went into it, we felt it was beneficial to have pre-K kids in all day, 2 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, break them up into groups. And then Friday, all of those students are learning virtually from home. And then in the afternoon, at least in the mornings, and then in the afternoons, they have asynchronous learning taking place where those teachers get to plan. So it's a similar format to that. So again, if we did a Wednesday, we would be cutting out time from those students from their time here.
Gary, 1 day is the equivalent of 2 instructional days. Yeah, so we're just trying to.
I was just trying to figure out why Friday was better than Wednesday.
Well, it also came into play too. I mean, there's the ripple effect, because then we get into special education, we get into early intervention, we have consortium needs, there's related service providers. It's not just as easy as let's dismiss the entire district every week for 1 day.
Exactly. And the amount of time that the instructional services need to implement whatever's required from a special education standpoint, that's highly critical. So we need to make sure that we're able to provide that as well. So we want to start with this time initially, assess it, reevaluate in the next few weeks, and see where to go thereafter. If that's the course of action that we need to take, then so be it. We go that direction.
Is there a way that they can video their class subject that they're teaching that day? And because, with some of these kids, they have specials and whatever, and they're moving around, can they then review that at home? So they're not really in the classroom being disruptive. I mean, you have kids in the high school eating, you have on. You know what I mean?
There's the
there a way?
capability of that. But this is one of the conversations we've been having. And currently the association will not agree to any recorded lessons.
And why is that?
They're afraid that their image will be projected out without their
Even if it's
permission.
just on the permitting board and it's the subject. What?
So no recording of the
not
lesson
actual
at this
person.
point.
No, right, it's just what they're
That's-
doing there. Yeah.
So that, again, we think that would be a highly valuable tool to utilize, and some teachers have done that in the past, and it's been highly effective. If you teach a great lesson one day and you want to review it and have kids see it somewhere else, it'd be great to have it archived somewhere and pull this up for next year, see what worked well, what
So it's
didn't.
the union that's really holding that piece back.
At that piece, yes. We can't come to terms for the recording of the lessons.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
At this-
The whole part about somebody reaching out to you and saying that there's something disruptive, and sending you said that you didn't, you guys don't know this yet, so.
Can't hear, Joe.
Yes. Obviously. it's
Joe, your mic, I'm sorry.
I didn't want anybody to hear me. So
Nobody really
what I'm
wants
trying
to
to say
listen
is
to you, but I want to hear
the
you.
problem
anyway.
that you heard about, the problem that you didn't hear about, right? So now you heard about it basically, right? So I guess my question is, if something like this is continuing and I'm hearing this for the first time. So basically I'm sitting here thinking, and I wouldn't say you go and sit in that classroom, but if that teacher, if there's a procedure, like you said, and that teacher doesn't know this or isn't doing the right procedure, would you send somebody in that classroom and just have them sit there for an hour and during class, right? I mean, that's probably not something that could happen, I would think, right?
And administrators have been present within
Okay.
classrooms and have
That's
been
what I thought.
popping in. We've asked them to call school counselors.
Okay.
And it's going to look different at the high school than it would at the middle, than at, the elementary, because
Right.
it's structured a little bit differently, but,
My own work and something's not right.
right.
Let them know and pretty much it's taken care of, So whether, not that they're gonna sit with you or watch you work, but that's the first thing I would think. Now, is that gonna solve everything? I'm just thinking, so you guys, people have been in classrooms with teachers, seeing how it goes as far as the Zoom.
Yeah, and somebody has to be notified that it's happening. I mean, I wouldn't want a teacher to have to go through that every single day. That's not fair to them either.
Crazy.
So,
I'm hearing this thinking that's just not right.
I think it's just a matter of communicating that to, the school counselor or the building admin to have a conversation about that.
So you guys may not be aware of something, but they could have communicated it to their building administration, and it was just never filtered up to you as well.
I mean, I'm not saying that I have to know, but my first question is the chain of command. Did the building administrator, were they notified of it? And did
According to what I'm hearing, yes, they were notified of it, so it was, they're calling the office, they're calling the people that are on there, so that this information is not.
they're calling the office to talk to a secretary, or did they call and talk to the principal?
I just call the office.
Okay, and
But
so that's,
even just trying to follow down an IT person, like, we have feeding systems, we can't say, whoever's in the building, blah, 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 teacher needs to go, so they're having internet issues.
could
Like,
you,
you're really gonna be able to teach 20 kids in the classroom, do a Google Meet, and wait for the body to go by.
Nobody's-
Hey, I need you, I mean, that's ludicrous.
nobody's asking them to do that. Please have that person talk to the building administrator.
There was a person and then another teacher that saw it happen, so it definitely happened.
Okay,
If it was one teacher who said it, I would be like, maybe it didn't happen, but another teacher telling me that, I saw that happen.
Yeah,
again.
and again,
direct the person.
is this an everyday occurrence, or is this a 1 or 2 time situation? And we're people given an opportunity to address it and implement whatever necessary needed to be done. That I don't know, because, again, that situation is the first we're hearing of it, so, but these are things that we're working out, and we'll continue to. It's just a matter of, we need to get this done. We need to get it done. And everybody's trying their best. Everybody's busting their tail. Everybody's working more hours than they ever worked in their lives.
I can tell you
We're
admin
lucky
is,
to be here, though.
admin is listening to this right now. They're contacting me through my phone, and people are saying, I am frequently sitting through class meetings. I am personally dealing with technology matters if I'm being notified of them. So this is the message across multiple buildings. So all I'm asking is, please send that person directly to the building administrator. Give them the opportunity to address it.
Sure.
This is new for everybody, and I think everybody is frustrated. Like Dr. Barrett said, everybody is frustrated. But the reality of it is, this is where we're at. And if you think about where we were even a couple of months ago, we have made such gains here. And nobody's happy about it, but we're doing it. So just allow us the opportunity to fix it.
Is the end
Early
result now that we
dismissals,
are willing to
did you
give
say
more
that they're
prep time?
instructional time, so the students will go home and have some
Assignments.
assignments on Google?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. That will count for their attendance through the completion of the assignments or projects that they have.
And the start of those 4 days.
Again, just because we do have those in-service days coming up, before we get into any routine, I think we see how this goes, and maybe if there's a different way to restructure it, give us some time to look into it. And if it continues thereafter, so be it. That's fine, but let's just figure out what's going to work best.
And just remember, there are some students, it's the equity piece. Some students cannot receive it through an asynchronous. They would need to have direct instruction. So it's not quite as easy as let's just give them a review or enrichment activity at home. It has to meet the needs of all of the students across the district.
So in terms of the virtual as well, I know that when it was presented to the parents that they could, if your kid was sick, they could log on to the virtual academy, whatever you want to call it. I've had parents come to me and say that that's not allowed anymore.
No, we put a procedure in place so that we're not allowing just anybody at any time, excuse me, to just stay home and click on Google Live and
Right.
just
But if
because
you
they didn't
have a
feel like
doctor's note-
coming to school. We wanted parents to make a commitment.
Right,
We want to
but I
follow through.
understand, but if they have a doctor's note, let's just say this kid had a sinus infection or strep throat. Obviously, he can't come into the classroom
Yes,
because he's contagious, but why can't he be on
We-
the virtual?
we take that on a case-by-case basis, and we have allowed for that to happen depending on the circumstance.
So what's the circumstance, I guess, then, because the two people.
If it's
that I
going to-
talked they did have
if there's a
notes
doctor's
and
note-
They were not allowed.
And then there's an extended period of time.
Yeah, I think that's a misconception out there, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
because
I know, my daughter was homesick for 2 days and she just hopped on now. Who knew that they weren't allowed? I mean, some teacher was saying, no, you have to hop on, and some teacher said no. So I mean, I just think there's miscommunication out there on that.
Yeah.
Wait,
I mean,
so-
if we knew, we couldn't, we wouldn't have, but.
So we had to clarify, here's where I think maybe some of the miscommunication was, the difference between Google Classroom and Google Meet. So if it was a student who just didn't wake up that day, they could still go into the Google Classroom and get their work, but they would be marked absent because they didn't come to school. They could not participate in the Google Meet, the live session. We did clarify that last week or 2 weeks ago with faculty and staff. I believe it was communicated to parents as well. But there are some students that it's on a case-by-case basis where they would be able to be at home and participate in the Google Classroom and attend the Google Meet.
My daughter was sick today, I wasn't expecting her to go on.
Right, so,
I think some parents are just thinking, we don't know what's gonna happen in the future, so my kids can go on, let them go on. Why need to fall behind now when they potentially could fall behind? Let's just say they do get COVID and it's really bad, and they're not able to log on, so they can't function in front of a computer. They have a virus infection, you can anticipate, it's not good.
again, these are, we wanted to put some parameters in place initially. These are things we're continuing to look at and deal with, you know, initially case by case. If it comes to a point where it's fully procedural, that's the situation that, you know, we'll implement it moving forward, but there are a lot of moving parts right now.
Here was,
We should say that we didn't want them just to log on, so they couldn't log on. But if they were sick, then they could log on. So parents logged on. And then they were told by secretary or something that they had to log on, so they were not allowed to stay on.
here's why we had to set some parameters in place, because if I was a teacher who did not have anybody currently in Google Meet, we didn't want teachers to just get an email at 8 o'clock in the morning to say, hey, Johnny is now joining your class, and this to be this, you know, anxiety provoking situation. So that's why we're asking individuals, if there is a circumstance, communicate it to the nurse in that building. They will work with your doctor to get whatever documentation, and then the teachers will not be caught off guard. It will give them.
They'll be notified in advance. Right. Okay, so I guess we're okay to add that to the agenda, at least to start for those couple of days. And
Yeah, let's see how it goes. I think there's no point in throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right, right.
I never understood.
Never.
But can we at least look forward also?
We are,
That they-
again,
that they-
the survey's
You
going
know,
out.
I think that's just getting all the
Yeah.
data and more information, and I'd be
Yep.
curious to survey the teachers as well.
I think it makes sense to do the,
And what is their honest
think
opinion?
it
Because I
makes-
know it's like having 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a lot, and,
Well,
and we already have that stress.
To put it in
on everyone.
perspective, Cindy, myself, the high school administration, we're, you know, spent half of our weekend literally on the phone with parents, Department of Health.
Oh, I absolutely.
It was my father's 70th birthday on Sunday, and I'm, you know, 3 hours on the phone with the Department of Health. So it's
And
like,
you're willing to do it as well.
we're all
Nobody's
doing it, you know,
crying
it's
and
like,
moaning and complaining. Everybody's willing to do it, but our job is to, how do we get it to be the best? And listen, I'm the first one to say, get these kids in school, get them in. But I also want them to get an education to the best that we can give.
and that's our goal.
And,
And we want to have teachers in our school district that are teaching, not going crazy and wanting to quit. Because, I mean, if we're already saying that there's no subs, what do we do when our teachers decide, I had enough, I'm done, I'm not dealing with this any longer? And from what I'm hearing, that there's a lot of them that are, when teachers are crying as they're walking out the building, it's an issue.
We understand.
So
We sympathize because we're living it as well.
Yeah, that would look like.
That's
Right, when we're going on.
You're doing it too.
I mean, this guy over here is sleeping in his office because he's,
I don't envy any of you. I just don't, like, how can we make it better?
Well, we,
Yeah, I mean.
trust me, we get it.
Yeah.
We get it.
Certainly. There was a lot of overhead to start with the new laptop. And
Right.
it's a set, that, you know, the microphone's not working,
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi.
And it's not even just.
Once
our
those get
stuff.
worked out, once those problems are worked out, they're done.
Right.
And the initial overhead, I mean, we started school later in September, and we're only up until this point now with those issues.
Mhm.
And now we can focus on those classroom issues that you're speaking of. And we'll have more time. We had no time IT wise. However, I promise you, we will.
Is there an IT person in each school?
No, I only have 3.
Brian, Don, and Matt.
So is there a specific school that has more issues so that like you guys are there?
Well, that's why I said initially, these issues came up all of the new laptops.
Right.
You know, and we did focus on the elementary buildings. And we've begun to work those out, so.
So they picked days over the last couple of weeks to be in each building.
Right.
We give it periods of time to, bring your laptops.
And eventually there's gonna be issues with just people internet. It's not gonna be our
Right.
issues, it's gonna be their issues.
Surprisingly, that hasn't been the issue. And it has been really puzzling, you see these kids on, and maybe they didn't have a microphone. However, it was, from what I had seen, it was working. And when you turned on the microphone, the kids were excited. And I think that's the next phase that they're excited and they're chatting about using the technology because we've never had a one-on-one program. And that's brand new on top of it.
So when they didn't have the mic, they just were able to type it into the chat window, is that how they were communicating?
They were at times with the teacher, but we were working quickly to, fix that issue.
What are our procedures in regard to like?
So this was something else that I heard, like
Students are logging into their meet.
and they're positioning their cameras to like stuff that's in their room that's not school
The
appropriate.
teacher needs to address that with the student.
Okay, so that, and then, what was the other, like parents being in the background, siblings being in the background, has that all been addressed with these virtual students?
As we move forward, or as a situation arises, we've contacted parents to inform them, and some didn't even realize, again, we're dealing with these things as we move forward. We tried to, put out information prior to, like list of etiquette for both parents, students, when you're in a live Google setting. So, but things will happen moving forward. It's just, as with any normal school day we go through, kids are going to do stuff that they're not supposed to. Teachers are going to do stuff, staff's going to do stuff, that we have to address. And that's the nature of the beast. But now we're just in a different format. So but we'll continue to. The teachers have done a phenomenal job. The secretaries, the custodians, everybody, paras. I mean, literally, it's amazing that we're here for 4 weeks, every day, when most of the state is not.
One of the other things that I heard about the Google Meet was that when they send out the link, that if a student clicks on it before the teacher's into it, that the student has control over everything. So they can mute everybody, including the teacher. Is there any way to like circumvent that? Like, can the teacher click on it first and then send out the link? Like, how does?
They've addressed that.
We addressed that yesterday.
Okay.
I chatted with Google, and they said that that teacher should actually stay in that meet, remove all the students.
Yeah.
And then they're owner of the meet. So the next time that they go in, they just need to do that daily, is remove the students. Prior to that, what we heard was they needed to be the first one in, and then they would be owner of that meet. However, yesterday that was not the case with Google support.
Okay.
And we sent that out to all the professional staff saying this is what is now recommended.
Okay, because that was one of the things that I heard, that like the students like muting the teacher throughout the meet, and then everybody couldn't, once there was
again, we also need to follow proper channels to address these issues. You know, we need to like,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, Google's programming moderation controls in, and we heard that they were gonna be rolled out in the next month. However, yesterday I asked about that and they kind of blew me off. However, it is out there that these other moderation controls are coming, disabling the chat and stuff like that, which you cannot do right now. So the whole world of technology is playing catch up. And they want to be as good as us. We just need a little bit more time.
okay, anything else? I think we could end the work session and move on to executive at this point. Brian, do you mind stopping the recording and take it from there?